You stood before the monolith. This star-born relic pulsed with forgotten power. Its surface was cold to your touch. A low hum resonated deep inside your chest. It was a sound that promised to unmake history itself. You felt a strange, thrilling certainty. This object was meant to bend time. A shimmering gate appeared on its obsidian face. It was the timeless gate. You realized that this was your only chance. It felt like opening a cosmic can of worms. Still, you had to see what lay inside. The relic's energy coursed through the chamber. You stepped past the shimmering threshold. The air inside crackled with age and possibility. Your hand traced unfamiliar glyphs on the wall. They spoke of battles fought and forgotten. This power was older than the star science books say. It was a terrible power to hold. You hear the faint, haunting sounds of war. They are carried on ancient recordings. Static hisses and pops around you, yet you clearly hear the roar of plasma cannons. A commander's last words echo through the void. He spoke of a long war that never really ended. The conflict was simply tucked away. You realize this static held a hidden key. It was a secret history waiting to be unlocked. Every broken signal was a clue. You searched through the debris for an answer. The truth was buried deep within the past. This was definitely not an easy history assignment. The recordings spoke of the Elder Ones. They were the architects of this great destruction. Their war machines lay silent now. Yet their cruel legacy remained. You felt the weight of their long shadows. The static seemed to coalesce into a shape. It was the form of a great star-born clock. Its gears spun backward into the past. It was waiting for your command. A star-born crew of daring builders arrived. They offered their dangerous solution freely. Their ship was battered, but still capable. It smelled faintly of ozone and old metal. They were engineers of impossible things. Their captain, a sturdy woman named Kale, stepped forward. "We can build a pathway," she stated simply. "Our design will rewrite the battlefield's darkest hour." You understood the immense risk. This was like teaching an old dog new temporal tricks. Their plan was audacious and terrifying. It meant tampering with causality itself. Kale showed you the schematics. They detailed a device meant to manage the clock. It was complex, elegant, and fragile. The device needed the power of a star. It would harness that light to fuel the reversal. You agreed to the insane endeavor. Their courage gave you a needed boost. You strapped in for the fight to come. You follow Kale into the heart of the device. This is the core of the starborn clock. A single, flawless crystal pulses with light. It beats with a slow, powerful rhythm. It truly feels like a living heart. The crystal held all the device's power. You watched as Kale began the final wiring. She told you its pulse must align with the stars. Specifically, it needed the beat of a distant nebula. This was the only way to stabilize the loop. If they failed, the whole universe could crack. You felt your own heart pounding fast. You hoped your alignment was better than your dancing. The crystal's light intensified quickly. It hummed in response to the nebula's signal. Kale stepped back, wiping her brow. "It is ready for a brief, small test," she whispered. The energy felt enormous and barely contained. It was a terrifying reservoir of power. Kale initiated the brief reversal test. The air shimmered with unexpected heat. You watched the view screen with held breath. A ruined city appeared in the display. It was nothing but dust and melted metal. Then, time began to run backward slowly. Debris flew upward, fusing together. Buildings rose whole from the smoking craters. The city bloomed anew, fresh and intact. Hope flickered brightly in your soul. A moment later, the reversal stopped. The city remained whole on the screen. But then, a warning siren screamed. A faint shadow passed over the device. Danger was already lurking nearby. The enemy knew something was wrong now. Your first small success brought great peril. This was going to be harder than expected. It felt like playing a very high-stakes game of rewind. The enemy's masters gathered swiftly. They held a dark, shadowed council meeting. These Elder Ones were aware of your meddling. Their voices were low and filled with cold anger. They saw the clock as a blinking beacon. It was signaling your intention to them. Their ancient starborn ships moved fast. They began to turn toward your location. You could feel their cold, cruel scrutiny. The council was deciding your fate already. A cold fear gripped your throat tightly. They would not allow their loss to be undone. You had to speed up the main reversal. Kale worked feverishly on the clock's settings. They are sending a full destroyer fleet, she warned. We are running out of crucial time. The window of opportunity was closing fast. Each brief reversal spawned a new timeline. You saw them branch off into the void. They were fragile threads of possibility. Kale showed you a complex star science map. It displayed every possible new outcome. One reality showed complete, perfect peace. Another was a nightmare of endless conflict. You had to choose which reality to protect now. The weight of all existence pressed down hard. The clock's ticking felt profoundly loud. This decision was certainly above your pay grade. You looked at the peace timeline's coordinates. It felt pure, but also dangerously uncertain. You feared erasing the current reality. It was a terrible risk to take. Yet the price of inaction was worse. You made the necessary, difficult choice. Lock on to the reality of peace, you commanded. Kale nodded, her face grim but determined. A distant, unfamiliar fleet arrived. They were drawn by the clock's powerful song. Their vessels appeared out of nowhere. They were allies from beyond known space. Their ships were unlike anything you had ever seen. They were sleek, silver, and powerful. A transmission crackled to life immediately. We heard the call for justice, a deep voice said. Our aid will tip this great balance. You felt an overwhelming surge of relief. You definitely needed all the help you could get. The Elder One's destroyer fleet was closer now. The sudden arrival of this new ally surprised them. Their ships hesitated for a crucial moment. This pause gave Kale needed time to work. The new allies formed a shield around you. Their energy barriers pulsed with great strength. The war was about to begin again. You confronted a harsh, moral paradox. It was the deepest problem with this plan. The Starborn clock could erase all loss. Yet it would also wipe away all memory. The sacrifices of 1,000 years would vanish. You thought of the brave, fallen soldiers. Did they deserve to be completely forgotten? The decision weighed heavily on your spirit. Erasing the past meant losing the lessons. Kale saw the troubled look in your eyes. We save the future first, she declared. We can never forget to honor the dead. Her simple wisdom cut through the problem. You realized the truth in her statement. You would carry their stories forward always. The memory would live on inside you. This was the only way to honor their fight. You walked to the Starborn clock's core. It was time for the final calibration step. Kale provided the last set of coordinates. You worked to sync the core's rhythm perfectly. It had to match the entire galaxy's breath. This massive scale felt both serene and terrifying. The crystalline heart beat slow and steady. You felt the immense power surging. You were about to unmake a cruel, long war. What felt like holding the universe itself. This was the most intense concentration you had ever known. A blinding flash erupted from the core. The entire ship vibrated with the released power. The light subsided and Kale smiled. It is synchronized completely, she reported. The winding has finally begun. The enemy fleet was in firing range now, but it was already too late for them. The great unwinding began immediately. Time folded back in a wave of light. The war's brutal fire sputters into ash. You watched the past dissolve like mist. Starborn ships vanished as if they had never been. The Elder One's fleet winked out of existence. The scars on nearby planets began to fade. The reality you knew was peeling away fast. It felt like watching a cosmic movie on rewind. The chamber grew absolutely silent now. Only the soft hum of the clock remained. The war was officially undone now. You had managed the impossible task. The timeline had shifted irrevocably. The stars outside were calmer and brighter. You let out a breath you did not know you held. You heard the faint, lingering whispers. They were the lost voices of fallen soldiers. They echoed from the newly created void. They begged softly for one thing. They wanted to be clearly remembered. They asked that their sacrifice have meaning. You stood silent for a long moment. Their stories were woven into your spirit. You promised to carry their tales always. They would not be entirely lost. Kale stood beside you, deeply moved. They are resting now, she stated gently. We gave them the peace they fought for. You nodded, resolute and steady. Their memory was a debt you would pay. It was a quiet burden to bear. A tentative, gentle peace settled. It drifted softly over the scarred worlds. The starborn clock now rested, silent. It was a watchful guardian of the new peace. The sky was no longer choked with smoke. New colonies bloomed in the fresh light. It was a new dawn for the entire galaxy. You saw the green of new life returning. It was a beautiful, hard-won sight. Everything felt incredibly, wonderfully quiet. You knew this peace was also fragile. You and Kale shared a moment of silence. You had earned this new beginning. You stood ready to protect it always. The great clock had finally stopped ticking. Future star science generations studied the device. They were drawn by the clock's legacy. They learned humility from its power. They understood the fragility of time itself. The clock's profound lessons became a guiding star. They taught caution and great respect. They knew the terrible cost of forgetting. The clock sat in a peaceful museum. Its purpose was now to teach them. They learned that great power needs great care. Its silence spoke volumes to them all. You stood at the edge of this new history. A vastness of space surrounded you. You knew that your choices truly mattered. Your actions saved countless lives. The clock's powerful, silent presence remained. Its halted tick was a beacon of hope. It was a constant reminder of the past war. You knew the future was always uncertain. But you also knew what you had done. You had saved the starborn future. You smiled at the peaceful, quiet stars. You felt ready for whatever came next.